Welcome back to this episode of Paint Society. Now in this episode, we're going to be reviewing the Replica DV1 spray guns, something that you've been waiting for a long time. We're going to compare the two. We're going to look at the price difference. We're going to see how well these Replica spray guns perform. How do they look? Are they similar? And we're also going to look at some other products that we have from Temu, including a respirator, a headlight restoration kit, and a cool little mini buffer. I can't wait to show you guys. Let's get started. So we're all aware of how well the DeVilbiss DV1 base coat works. I use it many times on the channel with great success for metallic, solids, or any color. Now they also developed the DeVilbiss DV1 clear coat option, which is a great clear coat gun as well. A little bit on the slow side, but we're really focusing on how well that base coat gun works. So I was really excited to collab with Temu. The reason being is anything that I see as a creator on that website and I do a video on, they're gonna give a discount to you. So if you use the code below, they're gonna take that discount, $155 for one of these guns, which is a great price, down to $105. So I encourage you guys to take a look at the description for the link. Also, the code down below will get you to that special pricing. Also, if you download the Temu app, you're gonna get a $100 coupon bundle. Now let's take a look at these guns and see how well they look and are they similar to the actual base coat gun and clear coat gun made by DeVilbiss. So this is how the guns arrive. Now, if you're looking at a gun for $100 and it says DV1, it's gonna be 100% a replica version. If you're not paying over $600 or $650 for one of these DV1s, it's going to be fake. Okay, now when you take a look at the actual packaging, it's not too bad. Now the instructions, I already took a look at them. Now the instructions I wasn't too crazy about because they're just generic instructions. There's nothing even in here that replicates or looks like the actual spray gun you're getting. These are just more basic directions on how to use a spray gun. There was nothing about the actual digital reader, how to use it, how to plug it in. It's just basically instructional manual on how to spray paint. And if you want that, just watch my channel. So at any rate, we're taking a look first at the clear coat and then the base coat gun. We have them both here. Now the base coat gun, the finish is very similar to that of the actual original. This one is a little bit more silver as the original is a little bit more bronzish. Now a dead giveaway if you're looking at the actual gun itself is gonna be this digital reader. It's completely different. I mean, the rest of the spray gun looks very, very similar. You know, you get the DV1, but if you look here, you're gonna see that this is a replica. So I don't want anyone to get tied up in buying a real one and getting one of these. So these are some of the ways just to spot it really quick. But the cool thing about this gun is that the technology seems to be very similar. I've already sprayed with these guns and we're gonna show you as we step into the booth how well they work. Now, taking a look at the air cap, the air cap's gonna be very, very similar to that of the original. This is one of the closest replica guns that I've actually seen that functions so very similar to the actual original spray gun itself. Now looking at the digital readout, one thing I wasn't crazy about is it only registers in bar, and I've tried everything to get it to register in PSI, and you can see that we do have the PSI actually, like as if it was going to change to PSI, but just nothing, and I use the directions with no help. But you can actually use the conversion chart online. It will show you, and I'll post it up as well, that it will show you exactly what bar equals to PSI, and we were around 1.25, 1.5, around there. So this is going to be a dead giveaway. You do have your charger port right here. Now the one thing about the original DV1, the real DV1, is the battery, it cannot be charged, and once it dies, that's it. So that's a big complaint about the real DV1, but I've yet to meet anyone with a DV1 where the battery dies because it's soldered in there. But anyways, you can go ahead and charge it in here into your USB. It's a quick charge. It's not a problem. So looking at the actual construction of the spray gun, this is one of the cheaper, more functional guns that I've seen or held on the market that replicates the original very, very well. You've got your fluid right here. You got the same amount of turns and your fan the same amount of turns as you would have on the original version. This is about one full turn from wide open to close. That it will be one rotation. So we keep that wide open. And again, if you watch my channel, you're gonna hold that trigger, back this out, and then back it back in, and then when this stops and the trigger moved like it just did, it's set at wide open. So the grip is exactly the same. These guns are identical in regards to the actual configuration and the actual look of it. So let's head into the booth and see how well this gun functioned in the spray booth, and we'll come back here and talk to you about some adjustments that I would probably do. And in the booth, we'll be using this blue MDX front bumper, as well as this fender, which we've already sealed both of the parts in the front half of the actual part itself. And we'll be applying some base coat, as well as clear coating this front bumper. This is a gray front bumper, just like primer. Now, the both of these actual guns look very similar, but if you look at them, you can tell the obvious differences. The original being on the left and the replica being on the right. The color difference, as well as the digital gauge, is a dead giveaway. Now, as mentioned to you earlier, that when you go to adjust this gun, you're going to use the same type of adjustment on the bottom, and it's going to be in bar only. The PSI seems to not be working, or is just not a function of this actual gun. So we adjusted around 1.3, which is above in and around 22 to 25 PSI. You can see the fan looks pretty good, and we're ready to apply our base coat. Now, as I started to apply our base coat using the normal settings of setting up a gun, I noticed that the base was coming out extremely wet. Now, for a 1.3, it shouldn't come out this wet. It's not a big problem, but some of you, if you're spraying at home and you have too much wet of a base coat, then sometimes things can land in it. For me, it worked out pretty well. It covered pretty well, but I was going to go ahead and just tune it in a little bit on the next coat. Now, my initial thoughts are this is a pretty good $105 spray gun with a discount code from Temu. It atomizes well. The fan pattern is pretty good. It's not as wide as the original, but it's still a very good fan pattern. Now, so we moved on to that fender. We made some minor adjustments. Remember, we want to send just a little bit more air and a little bit less fluid, so you can dial in that fluid and you can pump up the air if you need to, and that's going to make a finer droplet. And a finer droplet is going to land smoother. It's going to be wet medium coat is what we're looking at. I like to spray the base wet, not too wet, but just wet enough. You get some full coverage between the first and the second coat, and you're good to go. You want to get out of your coverage within, I would say, no more than 2 coats if you can. And this is going to minimize the amount of time if you're in the booth, if you're a production painter, and it's also going to help you guys out if you're in the garage to get less in your paint, so you don't have to apply 3 to 4 to 5 coats of paint and then build that up in a good sand pile or texture. So some quick little tips here along the way to help you guys out become a better painter. Now, once we were done with the MDX, then I got this cool radiator support bar on my own project, and we're testing out some colors, and this is a beautiful metallic. It's actually called Blaze Orange. It's an older Honda RSX Acura color. Well, it only came on the RSX, but this color is beautiful, and it's got some metallic in it, and I wanted to see how well it did atomize and how well it laid it down. And I gotta tell you folks, this worked really well. It just put it down so smooth, so nice. I felt like I actually had a DV1 in my hand, but for small parts, it's not always the best test. So as mentioned in the video, this gun works very well, but you're gonna have to dial in that fluid a lot. Now, in the first initial configuration, we have our gun set up all the same, and this gun lets out a lot of fluid. A little messy in that regard because it puts so much out. So you're gonna wanna take that original fluid. So we back it up just like this all the way, and you can see here that we're pulling the trigger. And once again, we're set at wide open. Once this stops, and we feel a little resistance, a little push actually on the trigger. And then from there, there's no markings, but we'll do 1 full turn in. And that is what I'm going to suggest that you all use as a baseline. Now, one thing I would do is jack that pressure up just a little bit, around 1.6, 1.7. There's no really way to know if these are truly accurate. So what I suggest you all do is just take a look at what the droplet is doing. If you've got a fat, wet droplet, dial that in a little bit, your fluid, and then crank up the pressure just a little bit, small increments, and then you can go from there. Now, as far as what else the box comes with in the kit for the $105 that you're gonna get exclusively on this offer is you're gonna have a cup if you need. It's kind of cool, it's a black cup. I don't really use these, but a lot of folks, if you wanna go ahead and use these, you can just dial it right into here and you are good to go. You got your full setup, all good to go. Of course, these can still take any disposable paint system, and we'll put the link in the description for which PPS adapter you'll need to run for this particular gun. We also have as well your standard wrench and looks like an air adapter, a socket, and a little wire cleaner, wire brush right in there. And again, we have our instruction manual, pretty much useless. This is the same exact one as the other one, just a little bit bigger, but couldn't find any information there on that digital readout. So we're all ready to spray our clear coat. Now, when I took a look at both of these air caps, I want to show you something very interesting. We look at them and they look pretty identical. And if we look at the writing on there, it's identical. It says plus -1 HVLP. So we don't have anything that will differentiate the two of these. So basically, what I'm saying is that these two spray guns are basically identical, just difference in color. And that's what I really love about Temu, because they said make a video, be honest, tell the viewers what you think of it. So why would you buy two? Well, you would buy two because one will be for base coat and one will be for clear coat, but you can't see or notice any differences really in a gun other than the color. So for 200 bucks, 210 bucks, you can have two spray guns, but they're gonna function identical to each other. So that is something interesting to know. The real version of the DV1 clear coat will come with either that C1 or C2 cap, which is going to atomize that clear coat a little bit more efficiently. So again, I don't see any noticeable differences. And as I'm looking at the gun right now, we even have the same exact numbers on either side. So guys, if you want to save 100 bucks, just buy one gun and keep it clean and use it for base and clear coat, unless you want to have the bundle, which is kind of cool to have both, but they are going to be identical. So with that said, we're going to go into the spray booth now and hit up our clear coat. Now, one of the biggest complaints about the DV1 clear coat gun was how slow it was, or how slow it currently is. Now, still a great gun. I like it for beginners because it doesn't really pump on a whole lot of fluid. But for this particular gun, the replica gun, it does put the fluid on. Remember, it's the same exact as the base coat gun. So I made some minor adjustments, but I did pump up that air pressure because I wanted that to break up the clear more. By pumping up the air pressure, you might think that it's going to put even more paint out, but no, remember, we're sending more air than fluid. By sending more air than fluid, then our mixture is just a little bit different. If we had a lot less air, then what would happen? We have a lot more fluid coming onto the panel. So a lot more air is breaking up that paint. It's atomizing it much finer. It's going to put it on a lot smoother, and you're going to have less chance of a run. Of course, there's different factors that go into it, just like your distance and your speed, but after the first coat, guys, this is dialed in pretty easily just by bumping up that pressure a little bit and turning in that fluid a little bit more. Now on this bumper cover, it was just clear on clear, so we know that we're going to get a great finish no matter what. And well, we don't want to put it on too wet because that clear on clear can drip right off. You know, if you have base down on a bumper, then that will hold the clear coat, but that clear on clear comes out beautiful. And the reason why is because there's really nothing in between it. For this particular bumper, we did have some dirt in it, so we wanted to re-clear it, and that's just what we did. We, rather than going ahead and sanding it down and polishing the whole bumper, a quick scuff and a re-clear is just what you need to do sometimes, and you'll be amazed at how well it actually can change and make your life a lot easier just by putting clear down after sanding it down again. Now for this particular gun, you can see that we're moving with it. It does come out quick, so you want to increase your speed. Your speed on the original DV1 might be a little bit slower because it does atomize differently between the C1 and the C2 cap. But we can see right off the gun that we're getting a nice finish. Now on this bumper cover as well, it came out good. I have gotten a flatter finish before with other guns, but this bumper came out in the end really nice, but it had the factory finish. So if you wanted something a little bit smoother, then you're gonna have to work with the settings of this gun. So it's something that might be a lot easier to get a more flatter finish, might be a little bit more difficult with a gun that is not set up to atomize as well as those more expensive guns. But for that, that's another $500 or $600. And some of you guys who do-it-yourselfers just not gonna spend, nor do I recommend spending that type of money. Again, I tell you guys, if you're professionals, the best route to go is find a gun that works for you. And if you're gonna be in a production setting, you're gonna need a gun that is going to work day in and day out. And some of those higher quality guns are just that. For this particular gun, this is one of the only replica guns that I've seen that the actual components of the gun are so similar to the original. And that's just something you don't really find with the replicas. There's always going to be something that they cheap out on, whether it's the knobs, the springs inside, the longevity, how well it lasts. That's what you're going to find in a replica gun. So I'm not really quite sure how the replica process works, how it's done. But this one is a very close replica. Again, not completely the DV1, not the lightness of a DV1. The regulator is completely different. The digital readout is completely different. But again, these are factors that really won't matter if you're spending $105. So really happy with it so far, atomizing really well. And we'll show you here in just a moment how everything came out. I'm really happy with it. But let's pump up some jams. So after getting them cleared and using them for that first time, I gotta say these are probably one of the best replica guns that I've ever used in regards to the fit and finish, the handle of it, the way it feels, the way it's built. Do they perform like the DV1? They are similar, they are not the DV1. No gun will ever be the DV1, but for $100, we put down a beautiful finish with no problem. So if you're going into this thinking, I want a gun that's gonna spray like the DV1, the real one, then buy one of those. If you're going into this for a $100 good gun, then this is the gun for you. But don't buy this thinking you're gonna get the DV1, because it's not. This is a great $100 gun that will give you a fantastic finish if you just remember to dial it in just a little bit. Now, one thing I did notice when cleaning these guns, you gotta be very careful. And just a quick clean with some lacquer thinner, and I gently went over this area and by accident just gently hit the screen, and it's already tarnished the screen. Now on the real DV1, this is glass, okay? But on this actual option here, this is going to be plastic and like a transparent, like plexiglass type of material. So obviously it's not gonna last. I don't really even think the digital readout is necessary because it only registers in bar that I can see, and it's easily distorted. But it's pretty cool not to have a gauge up here. But yeah, so be careful with that, because that is an issue that I did notice. And taking a look at our blue MDX, after it's all put back together, the finish is beautiful from the fender to the bumper. You won't even know that this was painted with a replica DV1 spray gun. So really happy with this job, as well as our gray bumper back on the car, looking good. Never would have known that it is painted, so a great repair there as well. Now we also have some other things that we bought from the Temu website, and I try to focus on things that you might be able to use in your garage or even at the shop. So we picked up this mini buffer. Now I do use my Milwaukee buffer all the time, the mini portable buffer, but I wanted to see if this one had enough RPM, enough force to get that shine back on these headlights. So we're going to be using a headlight compound to try to brighten up and clear up these headlights on this older Honda CR-V. So first we tried by hand. Not a lot of luck here. This is a really old saturated headlight. So we went and we moved on to using our mini buffer, and the mini buffer did help. it did clear it up a little bit. Well, we're still not seeing a big difference. So I went ahead and I moved on to our Milwaukee buffer. I wanted to see with more power, would it make a difference, or were these headlights just toast? Well, using the Headlight Restoration Cream and the Milwaukee buffer, it did make a difference. You can notice from the driver to the passenger side, there is a difference, but it's not anything amazing. So in the end, what did I end up doing? I just ended up sanding these down and clearing them, and that gave us a better finish. And even at that, they were not beautiful, perfect, crystal clear, but much better. But for just a few bucks with the cream and the actual buffer, something that you might be able to use on something smaller just to get a little shine back. And now the last thing that I ended up buying that I'm gonna need to incorporate more for my own health is this full face respirator mask. Now what I love about this mask is it comes with a whole bunch of replacement inserts for the cartridges, as well as the pink cartridges. So if you're doing body work, or the regular cartridges if you're doing regular spray paint work or in the paint booth, this is going to be a great option for you. Now the one thing it does not come with is the clear protector that goes over the face, and well, overspray is just gonna get that completely clouded up. So I ended up getting a 3M clear protector, and guess what? It fits right over perfect. And these are tear-off sheets similar to those NASCAR windshield sheets that you replace them once they get overspray on them. So a great option here. And as we're using it in the paint booth to paint, no problems. We have full face coverage and we can still see what we are doing. So definitely pick up one of those if you're interested in really protecting your eyes. That's something that I need to really work on as I get older, is protecting myself. So we have a lot of great options from the Temu website. So make sure you again download the app if you want to get that $100 bundle. Also check out the description for all the links. I'll put the code down below as well. These are all great discounts that they're giving, something that I found that will help you all out. Hopefully you can score a cheaper discounted spray gun better than any other website. So thanks again, Temu, for making this happen for me and my subscribers. I know we really do appreciate it. Guys, this is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it. It's just paint. I'll see you guys on the next episode.